Primarily, I would say it's all down to mindset. Because it clicked for me when I realized I had solutions for them. And I feel like when we are struggling and in the midst of still learning, we don't have that self-confidence to be able to say, I'm your person, I'm going to get it done.
So, guys, I had Theresa come, and thank you for coming.
Of course.
Theresa has been through P.U.S.H how many times?
Maybe it was 4. I was the first P.U.S.H participant, then I went back the second time, then I did, so 3.
Yeah, three times, okay.
Yeah.
And so, here's what I love about Theresa. She puts in the practice. This lady knows her scripts, and she knows how to overcome the objections, and she's not afraid to sit on that phone and talk and suss out what's important to that seller and really dig deep and find out motivation. And more importantly, you also know your listing presentation as well, which is key, because when you don't know it, sometimes you can sabotage the calls that you're having.
Absolutely.
Let me just move this out the way so everyone can see it. So I just want to find out, at this point in time in P.U.S.H, we're doing for sale by owners, we're learning the scripts, we're going on for sale by owner previews, we're talking to people and getting into conversation, and then we start expireds on Thursday. What are some things that you learned in P.U.S.H that you want to share with them that can help them have a better experience throughout the program, especially going from FSBOs to expireds?
Okay. So primarily, I would say it's all down to mindset. Because it clicked for me when I realized I had solutions for them. And I feel like when we are struggling and in the midst of still learning, we don't have that self-confidence to be able to say, I'm your person, I'm going to get it done. Like, we don't have that level of conviction. And sometimes it's not enough just to have confidence. You need competence as well. So I really feel that this class gives you that sense of competence aside with that confidence to be able to go out, not only have those conversations, but eventually convert. And for the longest time, I was kind of like beating my head against the wall. I'm like, I'm making 2 hours of phone calls a day. I'm making X amount of calls because I have Vulcan Dialer, and I'm not getting anywhere. And it was a dry spell for a long, long while. And then it clicked after going through the program multiple times, after, coaching, etc., that, hey, I do have these solutions for these people, and I just need to stick in it long enough for myself to realize that I'm an excellent agent. And I just feel like it has to click for each and every one of us that their connection with me is going to be so special, and I'm going to be able to provide the exact solutions they need, more so than any other agent, because I'm me. And David taught me that, because I was like, how is it that you could go from a background of being afraid to publicly speak with people, to getting multiple listings a year, to now coaching a program? Like, how does that evolution of a person happen? And I think primarily the reason that P.U.S.H exists and it is successful and is gaining momentum is David and his story of authenticity. And I think we could all speak to that. I mean, he has that magnetic energy that just says, hey, if I can do it, so can you. And that's really what spoke to me most, and why I'm now having this level of confidence and conviction.
That's awesome. I appreciate you sharing that. Let me ask you, one thing I'm always talking about in here is question number 5. Where are you moving to?
Yes.
And then digging deeper. Why is that important to you? What would that do for you? How would you feel? I know that there was a shift in your business when you started digging deeper into motivation. Having that in your toolkit, how has that helped you produce more listing opportunities because you dug deeper and understood motivation?
I think for the longest time, I'll address the fact why I didn't dig for motivation, and then I'll get to where it's brought me to after having done so. So I think the reason I didn't push for motivation is I tend to be a private person. So I'm projecting my internal reality and perception of life onto others, which in sales they tell us to never do. But for whatever reason, my emotions got in the way, and I was like, well, if I wouldn't ask that of myself, I probably shouldn't be asking that of them. It goes back to my grandmother, who's Italian. She's like, oh, fatto un piag. I was like, what does that mean? And she's like, that means don't be a pest. And that stuck in my subconscious. It was like, okay, don't be a pest. Like, don't dig too deep. However, when I put all that aside, I adopted some new programming, I realized the only way we're ever able to help them is if we have that connection with them human to human. And we say, okay, if there's some pain here associated with this move, what do we need to do to get you out of this situation? Like, if this is pulling into your pocket and your mortgage payment is $2,500 a month and you're also paying child support and you're also trying to get them through college, like, what is that extra $2,500 a month going to do for you if you get that equity out? Like, that's a serious conversation.
Yes.
And before my, I guess, fear of rejection, my ego was in the way. And it was like, don't ask that question. But when you do, and you have that authority to say, you know what, even if it pisses them off, even if they get angry at me, this is my job. This is how I present that I'm a professional. This is how I show that I'm worthy of the business as well. And then when I started digging for motivation, I started having real genuine connections with people.
That's right.
Like, I got to see them, and I looked into their eyes, and I was like, wow, you're just a person. Like, you're not this objectified thing through a screen that I have to now try to have a conversation with. No, you're a person. You're a flesh and blood person that breathes and cries and has these struggles. And luckily, I do have a license, and I do know how to price property. I can get you out of this situation. You just have to trust me. I have to trust you too. You know, that's another part of it. You have to learn, you know, what your boundaries are and standards are, and not to defy them. I mean, he knows Ryan Thomas Sundin. He teaches a breakfast club. Shameless plug. One of the things we talked about this past Friday is Mr. Schultz, the founder of the Ritz-Carlton. He said, it's ladies and gentlemen helping ladies and gentlemen. So in other words, not to demean yourself, you're a professional. Not to let them walk all over you, have standards in your business. And that all drives down to the fact that you cannot be afraid of the rejection. And once you push past that, like kind of like a door opens up. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I'm seeing shifts in my business and just in my life that are incredible as a result of this career. If you stick in it and you believe that it's possible. So I think I answered that question.
You did. You answered it very well. One last thing.
Yeah.
Standards in your business.
Mm.
So when I think of standards, I think about my commission. Like, I'm not going to take a low commission.
Yes.
I think about, I'm not just rushing out to every appointment. They have to be motivated, at least above a level 7. I think about my schedule and time blocking for lead generation and follow up. And more importantly, time blocking for me and time blocking for family time as well. What are some standards in your business that have helped you after going through P.U.S.H and learning more about real estate that you can share with the group that may help them as well?
Well, number 1 is protect your mornings.
Mm.
Can't stress that enough.
Protect your mornings?
Your mornings?
Protect your mornings.
Okay.
This
Meaning what?
crucial. So we all have a finite amount of willpower, and it diminishes throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
So your peak performance is likely going to be from when you first wake up to about 12, 1 o'clock. After that, you're kind of like, you have to recharge. So I always say, do the dollar productive activities early in the morning. And that meant for me, okay, not writing up contracts, not working necessarily on, you know, the elements of the business, but doing the prospecting. Protecting your mornings and doing prospecting in the morning is just, it's crucial. And it's like a muscle you have to develop. And I mean, I really can't speak to that because I'm not a big gym person yet. But I would say that it's something that with enough repetition, like I went through 6 months just cold calling 2 hours a day with next to no business. Like,
Really?
it's rough sometimes, but if you stick in it, you get there. So that's one. Second is when you're working with buyers, so you know a number of us are, always have them sign the exclusive buyer agency representation agreement. Because if they don't, you've wasted all those countless hours. And I don't even have to tell you how much it stings if you've gone through it. That's another one. in my business, I know, David, you always push the 6% listing. That's what I start off with. But, it's evolving, and I feel like there should be like a menu of commission rates for certain different things, but I really wouldn't go under 5.5%. Like, that's just me. What else is a standard in my business? Again, it goes back to time blocking. It goes back to being a student of your calendar. And it's just holding yourself more accountable. And I really think that in this industry, that is paramount to anything, is holding yourself accountable. Like, I can't tell you how long it's taken me, and it's still an evolving process. Like, nobody has the magic formula to, when you say something, do it. Like, I would, in the beginning, say, oh yeah, I'm gonna call back Mr. Malhotra, yeah. Didn't get to it. Like, I don't deserve that business then. And then I go off and whine and complain and go into the victim corner and be like, oh me, I have no business. No, you have no business, because it's directly proportionate to your ability to be accountable to yourself and to others. And that's another aha moment I had through you, just showing up, day after day, doing the role play with partners, doing the scripts, and just being like, oh my goodness, like, I feel like I'm going through the motions. But I was learning how to be accountable. And now it's to a point where I'd still role play, 4 to 5 times a week, but it's not so hard anymore. Like,
imagine that.
It almost has like this momentum that's like, okay, I get up, I do this, I do that. It's not this horrible struggle where I have to put everything I am into it. I tell you guys, it does get easier, and it starts with being accountable to yourself. Like, can I open it up to the room?
Go for it.
Okay. All right. So, has there ever been a time where you said, okay, I'm going to wake up at this time, and you didn't, and the alarm went off? Show of hands. We all.
This morning.
This morning. Okay.
Me?
Okay. What else? How about? Okay, I'm gonna. Let's go personal life. I'm going to take the trash out. And you didn't get to it ever. Okay. Honesty. How about in business, where you said, okay, I'm gonna sit down. I'm going to, call my client. I'm gonna find the solution. And you kind of pushed it back because you let somebody else get in the way. Okay. How about calls? Hey, I'm going to make X amount of for sale by owner calls. And you got through half of it, or you let yourself go because, I did some of it. Yeah. So these are all examples of making excuses to ourselves of why it's okay to postpone things, why it's okay, not to follow through on a verbal contract. And I feel like it's a world of instant gratification. It's a world where, hey, I don't perform to my best ability. I'm still gonna have a roof over my head. I'm just gonna have something to eat. It's okay. But it's okay doesn't work when you're really striving to be your best version of yourself. I mean, would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. And why do we choose not to do those things we committed to? It's a choice we're making.
It honestly is. I didn't realize it was a choice. If I could just, finish off with this. I didn't realize it's a choice to be complacent. I didn't realize it's a choice to feel like a victim. I didn't realize it's a choice to not honor your word. To me, I thought it was like, I'm okay. Like, there's certain exterior circumstances I can't control, and they affect me, and it's okay. Like, I'm a human at the end of the day. No. It really is a choice, and I believe that you can override any programming. I mean, if you study Adlerian psychology, I'm reading a book on that now, you can technically override any programming, and it's just all a matter of the right materials being presented and being absorbed and received. But it's up to us to raise our hand and say, yes, that's what I commit to.
And I'm unwavering in that because that's going to show that I deserve what I'm after. And it's a total shift, and a whole different world opens up, and your energy changes, and people start to be attracted to you in different ways, and opportunities present themselves. I'm telling you, it's amazing, and a large part of that is in correlation to this class and you.
Well, says a whole lot. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of people speak to a lot of people in this room. The biggest thing is we're here because we're in real estate because maybe we like selling houses, but we also want to make an income.
Yes.
And in order to do that, there are certain activities we have to do. Protecting your morning is super important.
For sure.
And I used to question myself, well, why I was making a choice not to do the work. Like I would go to the office, I would get dressed, take my kids to school, go to the office, and choose to get on Facebook instead of actually making the calls. And so I had some meetings with coaches, and I had to do some soul searching to figure out why was I doing that. And I would sabotage myself. And it got to a point where I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I said to myself, I'm going to treat this like a business. That is the other standard that I feel is so important. We're independent contractors. We don't have anyone cracking the whip. We're not getting written up. We're not being fired if we're not doing the activities. We just aren't making the income. And in our business, we do business now. It shows up as a paycheck 3 months later. And so we constantly need to be working in order to have a steady paycheck. And so I finally got to a point where I said, okay, I have 2 jobs. My job in the morning is to create opportunities by making phone calls, protecting that morning. My job in the afternoon is to go on those appointments. That's it. I really believe in leverage, and so open houses, I let somebody else do it. Paperwork, I let somebody else do it. My job was to make calls, get business. And that's how we need to think about it. We're independent contractors. We need to have a standard in our business that we're going to work for 8 hours a day. And we don't even have to do 8. We can do a solid 5 or 6 and have a great business if we're purposeful about the 5 or 6 that we're working. So, thank you.
Of course.
Any questions really quickly, Steph?
I was just curious, Theresa, how long have you been in the business?
Coming up on 3 years.
I have a question, either one of you actually. But, you know, sometimes you get this spark, right? So like, I feel all of us here, we have this fire right now because we're here, we're making this commitment to be here. And then when we leave, it's like, okay, we still have this torch that we're carrying and we're still burning for and yearning. And then slowly it sometimes starts to diminish. So how do you, I mean, other than the obvious, like sign up for another push or 2.0 or whatever,
Right.
But what can we do, or what do you recommend, or what have you done to help that fire stay burning?
A couple of things. So accountability. Have an accountability partner, someone who will hold you accountable. Not someone who's going to say, oh, it's okay, you didn't do it today, that's fine. It's someone who's going to say, why did you choose not to do the work today? And really hold you accountable. And number 2, as simple as it may seem, I really believe in vision boards. I think that's huge. Like things that are important to me, like my trip to Yellowstone and going to Grand Tetons and things I want to do, I have that up and I look at it every day and I stay focused with things that excite me. Getting debt free doesn't excite me. It's important. It didn't excite me. So I also had to find things that excited me to get up and show up every day. And so I had a vision board that said, pay off my debt. I also had one that said, you know, take these vacations, and here's when I want to take them by. And I got excited about that as well. But it's really the vision board and the accountability to doing the activities. Find someone that will hold you accountable. For me, it was my daughters. I sat down with them and I had a meeting with them that if I did X number of work, when I did it, they got paid some money. So every closing, I would give them $100. And so out of that $100, $85 went into their bank account. And then they got $15 where they could go to Five Below and just ball out, right? So that's what I would do for them. And so when I was gone on listing appointments or I wasn't around on the weekend, they knew I was working hard to get them another $100. So they kind of bought into me being away from the house and being busy. They were also my biggest cheerleaders because when I set up a goal and said, when I do this, we're taking a vacation and we're going to Mexico. Every day I went to work and didn't work, I'm letting them down. And why am I choosing to let my daughters down? well, that's actually not an option, so I got to do the work. And I made them part of the conversation. They always knew what I was doing, why I was doing it, and what was in it for them too. And they held me accountable. So kids can be great accountability partners. They really can.
And what a lesson for them.
Yep. I actually did a video of them, and they were, I mean, this was like 7 years ago, of them talking about the accountability. I'll share it with you guys. I still have the video.
Yeah.
It's so cute to hear their voices talking about me and what I'm supposed to be doing. I'll share it with you guys. It's fun. Anything you want to put in, and then we'll wrap it
That's
up.
pretty much it. Yeah, I gotta head out, but it was so nice, talking to you guys.
Thank you.
Or I'll
you.
come back to you.